Jason and Brooke here with Clear Creek Farm. How we doing today? We're going to talk a little bit the differences between a smooth chain collar and pinch collars, which we use in the boar goat industry. So, we get people asking us all the time, and we got a few fairs around our area that will not allow people use pinch collars.
Which is dumb.
Where they'll only allow the smooth style or they look like little barbed wire thingamajiggers that you can get from a few different companies that make leads. So, we're going to talk a little bit why we think the pinch collars are better than the flat chain collars.
The prong collar, although it looks like it would hurt, looks a little inhumane, some people might say, in reality it's not. Goats have very thick skin and they also have hair, so this doesn't really affect them all that much. Plus, if you look, see the spacing right here? That goes between their windpipe. And when you pull back, it leaves space in order for them to breathe. It doesn't pinch it off. These, on the other hand, are straight. When you watch a murder movie and someone's choking someone out, what do they usually use? They usually use the phone cord or something that's flat, because when you pull back, it cuts off the wind. You can't breathe. That's why these are that's why these are less humane than these.
The reason that boar goats back a few years ago went to these type of collars, boar goats are way stronger than dairy goats, which these are used a lot in the dairy industry. I don't know why they still use them, because you see a lot out in the show ring that are still being choked by these. With these, once you get them trained to the pinch collar, most goats will not fight them. It's applying pressure all the way around their neck. Actually, in the boar goat industry, they've had goats back in the past before they switched over to this style of collar. They've actually had goats' windpipes be crushed and basically kill them. So that's why everybody in the boar goat industry uses these, or they actually use halters. A halter is a great way to control your animal. A good quality halter that's made out of leather, or even some of the ones you can get down at your local farm store, are just as good. But we like the good quality leather ones. We show all our weather goats in them. We even show some of our big bucks in that type of collar or halter as well. So that's why we prefer a pinch collar over a chain collar. I don't know, if I had something around my neck, I'd rather have this around my neck than a chain collar, because at least with this, I got blood flow, I can breathe. With the other collar, you cannot do that.
I like halters because I grew up in the horse industry, and a halter applies pressure to the whole head, not just the neck. Around the ears, so you've got your pressure points back here behind the ears, applies pressure there, applies pressure under here, applies pressure on the nose. So you got 3 pressure points for halters instead of 1. That's why I like halters. The weathers that we broke out with halters, it's like that. They jump around a few times and then they're over it. They don't scream, they don't alligator roll, they don't choke themselves. I just like the halters.
So why would a fair not allow a pinch collar, which applies pressure to all points around the neck, does not put too much pressure on their windpipes?
Or halters. Some fairs don't even allow halters, which I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, so I mean, we got to get away from the old style chain especially when it goes into the boar goat industry. 10, 15 years ago, there was very slim to none for boar goats. Boar goats are usually 30, 40% bigger, if not bigger than that even, than what dairy goats are. I think that's why the smooth chain works good on the dairy goats.
Well, most of them are bottle raised too, so
most of them are bottle raised. They're not as high strung. Boar goats are higher strung. They're bigger animals.
They have bigger necks.
Bigger necks. So that's why we would rather use a pinch collar. And anybody ask us why a pinch collar, that's why we tell people pinch collars. Easier to break animal as well than using a chain on them. Chain, you'll end up choking an animal out.
And
They'll end up.
we've used these before when we first started it in goats, and I can tell you that they've fallen on the ground and their tongue gets all blue, and it's not a pretty picture.
So we're going to show you some videos that we took earlier today of us using both style of collars on a broke goat that we actually show on a regular basis, and show you the difference between how they actually sit around the animal's neck, and so that way you can actually see the reasoning why on a pinch collar compared to a smooth chain collar. So we have Miracle here with a pinch style show collar. If you can tell there, it holds up around her neck and pulls gentle pressure all the way around. If you look on the underside, it's not choking her. It's just putting a light pressure on her. She's pretty much, I'd say 200 pounds or so. So on a boar goat this size, to really need something that you can actually control your animal. Now we're going to switch over to a smooth chain collar that they use a lot in the dairy goat industry. This is the same goat, just with a smooth style chain, basically a choke chain like you would use on a dog. You see, it pulls almost the same amount of pressure up around her, even though she's a semi-gentled goat. But when you go underneath to look underneath at her, look how little of surface space is on her. It goes straight across her windpipe, where if she wanted to pull on that right now, it would start cutting off circulation on her. That's why that a pinch collar is way safer for your goat than a choke chain style smooth chain collar. So I hope this helped you guys make your decision on why I would use a pinch collar over a smooth chain collar or even halters. If anybody's looking for a good quality halter, Amish made, check out Chris and Marie Anderson on Facebook. They have a page on there called Bling in the Ring. They have custom halters, custom leads, custom pinch collars.
Yeah, some of the leads are really cool. They have like conchos and sequins and stuff on them, like this. Where's the end of it? You see how it has some jewels on the end of it right here. So they're pretty. They're really nice halters.
very high quality. It's basically every lead in our box are from Bling in the Ring. So if you're looking for a good quality show halter, good place to go check it out. Thank you guys for coming along. Hopefully this gives you some insight on the differences between the two different collars and why in the boar goat industry we need to be continuing with the pinch collars or a halter. So thank you guys for coming along. See you guys on the next video.